Can you imagine getting more than 1,000 times the rewards for a single deed that you've done? Now that is a good return on investment. I think a lot of us Muslims are familiar with the night of power, Laylatul Qadr, but I think sometimes we forget how valuable this day is for us, especially if we're trying to really amp up our rewards. On this night, any good deeds that you do are amplified as if you've been performing them for 83 years or over 1,000 months. That's insane. In Surah Al-Qadr, which is the 97th surah of the Quran, it states, "Surely we have revealed to you the grand night, and what will make you comprehend what the grand night is. The grand night is better than 1,000 months. The angels and the spirit descend in it by the permission of their Lord for every affair. Peace, it is till the break of the morning." So what's the significance of Laylatul Qadr? It's believed to be the night that the Quran was revealed to the Prophet by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's during this night that our destinies for the rest of the year are written. Okay, so we know this night is worth a lot for us. So when is it? Unfortunately, we don't know which exact night it is, but we do know that it falls in the last 10 nights of Ramadan. The common consensus is that it falls in one of the odd nights of the last 10 days of Ramadan. Specifically, there's a lot of emphasis on the 27th and the 23rd. So what should you do to get the most out of the night? First of all, we have to acknowledge that we don't know exactly which night it is, but we do know that we have 10 days to figure it out. So basically, it's worth it for us to really be in the highest level of ibadat that we can achieve for ourselves during this time for every evening of the last 10 nights. I know it seems like a lot, but if you think about the return on investment you are getting for praying or being really focused for those last 10 days is insane and well worth the risk and the missed parties and this and that or whatever. So here are a couple of things that you can do to make the most of your night. First thing is to try to make sure you're in ibadat or some form of ibadat every single night so that you can reap the rewards. Second would be to try to read the Quran as much as you can and also try to read with understanding so you're getting the most out of it. You can refer to some of my tips that I share in my previous video on Ramadan. Make as much dua as you physically possibly can for yourself and for others. Try to give sadaqah every single night for the last 10 days of Ramadan. There are definitely a lot of great charities that you can donate to, and I've also seen, I think it's on Launch Good, that you can donate specifically to like Islamic charities and you can give your zakat and you can give your sadaqah every single night for the last 10 days of Ramadan, or you can do it whenever you want to. And I think that's a really great way to make sure you don't forget. You don't want to even miss one night if you can help it. I would also like to point out that you shouldn't just focus on trying to give sadaqah and zakat back home. There are people in need within our communities outside of our back home countries. So for example, locally in Ontario or in the US, there will be Muslim men and women that are in need, and it's worth it to also provide sadaqah for them. Next point might feel like a lot, but I just realized how worth it is, and so I feel like I have to share the possibility of dedicating time specifically for the last 10 days of Ramadan. It is totally worth it to try to get some time off for this because yes, you might think, well, I only get a few vacations throughout the whole year, I just want to take time off for Eid. But honestly, I realized that I'd rather get time off on the day of Laylatul Qadr instead of on Eid if I had to choose. But the reality is that we can probably spare a few extra days off specifically for the last 10 days of Ramadan because it's worth it if we end up getting 1,000 months of reward for every single deed that we're doing. You know what I mean? So I've never done this myself, but I understand that it can be really beneficial, and some people do actually do that in Canada and America. It's not just something that happens back home. Basically, itikaf is when you perform continuous prayer and make dua, dhikr, and spend all your time in remembrance of Allah. Basically, you're staying at the masjid for this whole period of time that you decide to dedicate. I don't know all the logistics, so I would highly recommend that you see or speak to a scholar about it. And the last thing would be to try to self-reflect. I understand that it can be really intimidating. You might be thinking, okay, well, what's the point of me trying to pray on Laylatul Qadr because I do all these other sins? But honestly, it is worth it. Don't try to feel like you're not deserving of getting all these rewards. You are, and you should totally take advantage. Inshallah, I'm going to take advantage too, but this is just a reminder that you can take advantage of this night, and who knows, you might find yourself even closer to Allah and closer to the religion and find yourself not wanting to do certain sins. You know what I mean? Just like try. Last thing I want to do was give you an idea on how you should structure your days so you can make the most of the last 10 nights of Ramadan, specifically Laylatul Qadr. First, try to pray on time every single time and be as prompt as possible. Don't wait for the last 10 minutes that are left for Zohar, Asr, Isha, etc. Try to pray as soon as possible. Second, if you're hoping to pray extra on top of the Sunnah, Farz, and Nafil Rakaz, try to do it as soon as you can. Don't leave it towards the end of the night. Try to get into the practice of doing it during the day, and then you'll be more motivated during the night instead of feeling like you have to catch up. Try to listen to the Quran and recite along when you're doing other tasks throughout the day, whether it's cooking, cleaning, etc. And also, a bonus tip, try to remind your friends and family about taking advantage of the night because, I mean, why not? Try to table unimportant conversations such as gossiping, backbiting, which I understand we're all going to be prone to, but try your best to table it for now, especially even conversations about entertainment and pop culture and stuff like that. We can all talk about that stuff later. Try to focus and center your conversation specifically about Islam and learning about Islam and encouraging each other, because honestly, if you end up talking about something else, you will end up getting sidetracked no matter what. Even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour, it's not worth it, especially in these last 10 days. Try also to delay your catching up with friends and family. Like, I know it's very tempting, we're going to all these dawats and stuff like that, but maybe the last 10 nights are not the time to do that, as much as it is kind of tradition in our cultures to meet up and have all these events. But for myself, I find I can't focus as much on my ibadat when I'm going to all these events. It's just too much of a hassle getting ready, getting all like dolled up and stuff like that, and then coming back and having to catch up on prayer and stuff like that. It's too much for me to handle. I just don't have the capacity to deal with that. So for myself, for example, I'm hoping to avoid that as much as I can. And obviously, if you still want to participate in these things, totally fine. I understand that. Why not try to time it so it's before the 10 nights or right after the 10 nights? You know what I mean? So you can focus those 10 days specifically on prayer and trying to get as many rewards as possible. Another great tip is trying to limit as much social media as possible, specifically in these last 10 days. And you can use lots of different apps and Chrome extensions, etc., to kind of limit or create barriers between you and social media, because the reality is a lot of us, even though we have really good intentions, will come across things that we're not supposed to be coming across. It can lead down to a rabbit hole where you're really distracted. And that's the thing that we're trying to avoid, right? So for example, I definitely engage with more Islamic and religious centered content on social media right now, and it's really great, but I do come across, other things that I'd rather not be listening to or engaging with right now, and I have to constantly remind myself to get out of the app or go and search something that's more productive, basically. And it's a bit of a hassle, and I really, really don't want to have that during the last 10 days of Ramadan. Some apps that you can use are like the OneSec app, the Forest app, and a bunch of different Chrome extensions as well. Try to stay in wudu as much as possible, and that'll make it easier for you to quickly make up some more rakahs as you need to. And if you find yourself really distracted, maybe if you can get the willpower to force yourself to do 2 extra rakahs, it'll remind you to avoid the distraction so you can focus on prayer, and that'll make you more ready for the Laylatul Qadr nights. Last thing I want to mention, if unfortunately you're on your period or you're not able to fast during the last 10 nights, a silent prayer, I totally understand the struggle. Definitely check out my video specifically about what to do if you're not able to fast during a certain period in Ramadan and take advantage of Ramadan still. It'll give you some tips on what you can do instead if you're not able to pray or read Quran, etc. Okay, so those were some tips on how you can restructure the last 10 nights of Ramadan so you can take complete advantage. I really, really hope that they're helpful and you're able to take something away from it. It would mean just so much to me. If you haven't seen my other videos about Ramadan, definitely check them out. I hope that they give you something that you can use in your Ramadan this year and moving forward. I really appreciate you guys watching to this point. Please like and comment and subscribe. It really helps my channel, and it also really encourages me to keep going. So thank you again so much. I really appreciate the support I've gotten so far, and I will see you guys in the next video.